This is a Darium's Pokemon Deck Tech. Cue the explosions.
What is happening, everybody? Dan here at Darium's, bringing you a Pokemon Online deck profile. This is the Volcanion and Volcanion EX deck. Volcanion came out in Steam Siege, and since then it's been a pretty good format staple. We're going to go through the cards individually and break it down, and then there's going to be an associated gameplay video you can check out if you like. Well, unfortunately, the deck in its current form is not the cheapest. Starting with Shaymin EX. We have two Shaymins in the deck, and well, it's just one of the best cards in the format. This is a standard Pokemon trading card deck. Yeah. This is a standard Pokemon deck, and as such, Shaymin is pretty much a staple in most of the competitive decks. It is cuttable. We can talk about that later when we go over the finances, but you definitely empty your hand a lot. You have a lot of ways to get rid of your extra energy, making the setup even that more effective. So Shaymin's great in the deck, lets you draw up more energies to discard your Volcanions, and it's easy to get to 0 cards in your hand because you can get rid of extra energies. So Shaymin is perfect. 4 of the mini Volcanion, the regular rare from the set, 130 HP. It's got this nice ability called Power Heater. It's usually your first attacker. You're going to steam up with the rest of your Volcanions and then use the energy that was discarded by those to accommodate your Power Heater, putting 2 more fire energies from your discard pile onto your benched Volcanions, EXs usually. You're almost never going to use Steam Artillery. You're really just here for the first couple turns, setting up your powerful attackers on the bench. Who are your powerful attackers on the bench? Well, Volcanion EXs. Volcanion EX has a nice steam up ability that says, once during your turn, you may discard a fire energy from your hand. If you do, during this turn, your basic fire Pokemon attacks do 30 more damage to your opponent's active. So you get a couple Volcanion EXs out, you discard a couple energies, you have your regular Volcanion do a bunch more damage, putting energies on the benched Volcanion EXs, and then when you're ready, and you have them all set up, you bring them up and you start Volcanic Heating away. Now, Volcanic Heat has a drawback, meaning it's got a detrimental effect that says that this Pokemon cannot attack during your next turn. Well, how do we mitigate that? There are ways, and we will see. But first off, the last Pokemon on the deck, which is in a lot of these decks with the X's, is a Hoopa. A Scoundrel Ring Hoopa from Ancient Origins. We have a nice full art one here. Again, Scoundrel Ring is an ability that lets you play the Hoopa, and then when he comes into play, you can search your deck for up to 3 Pokemon EX cards, except for more Hoopas, reveal them and put it in your hand. Usually what you're going to do is you're going to do, if you don't have the Shaymin, you're going to find a Shaymin, and then 2 more Volcanions. Sometimes you'll already have the Shaymin, you can find 3 Volcanions. Sometimes you have a lot of Volcanions, you'll find 2 Shaymins in a Volcanion. But most of the decks have a Hoopa just because it lets you set up your first couple turns so well. That is it for the Pokemon. There's only, what is that, 11? Yeah, not very many. And you're only going to be attacking with Volcanions. The Shaymin and the Hoopa will never attack, and the Shaymin will sometimes attack, but you won't be happy about it. So we'll go through the trainers. Energy retrieval is pretty much a must. You discard a lot of energies with the Steam Up ability on Volcanion, so energy retrieval is a good way to get them back. If you have a ton of energy and a lot of Volcanions, you can discard 2 energy to the Volcanion Steam Up, and then use energy retrieval, discard those same 2 energies to the other 2 Volcanion Steam Up, and then Steam Up a ton of times in a turn, which is great. One of the core pieces to the deck is this Max Elixir. You're going to want to start, if you have the choice, with Little Volcanion up top, Big Volcanion down on your bench, and then start Max Elixing your Big Volcanions, and sometimes you'll even get to attack on turn 1 with the regular energy attachment and 2 Max Elixirs. If you're going second, you can do 130 plus however many Steam Sieges you've done, and get a first turn KO, which is pretty sweet. So Max Elixir is what you're usually digging for. We've got 2 switches. It is imperative that you have ways to get the Volcanions to move about. So we have 2 switches plus I think 3 float stones down here at the bottom. You always want to put float stone on your big Volcanions and the Fighting Fury belts on your little Volcanions. And you generally only want to attack with little Volcanions for the first couple turns, and then they'll usually get knocked out, or you'll start switching and bring up your big Volcanion and be ready after you've set up. It's nice to set up 1 or 2 on your bench so that you can float stone them both and get them flying around. But we have the switches just as extra ways to move stuff about. It is nice to have. 4 Trainer's Mail, pretty big staple in most of the standard competitive decks. Just being able to have extra shots at finding your Sycamores or your Max Elixirs or whatever you're looking for is pretty standard and pretty great. 4 Ultra Balls, because finding whatever Pokemon you want is awesome. Usually you're going to find, if it's the first turn, the Hoopa, and the Hoopa is going to get your Shaman and your Volcanions, and then you got everything. Doesn't matter that you discard 2 cards. You just kind of got to do it. 4 Versus Seeker, because it represents every trainer every supporter in your deck. Actually in your discard pile, but it represents tons of selection from your discard pile. Lets you not feel so bad about sycamoring away certain things. Versus Seeker can get them back later, so if you discard your Ends early or your Lysanders early, Versus Seeker definitely lets you re-up on those. Lysander, just because, you know, sometimes they've got a Shaman on their bench and you want to bring it up. Sometimes they have a guy on their bench that they're building up and you have enough damage to knock it out and you'd like to do that. And another staple, each player shuffles their hand into their deck and then draws a card for each number of prizes. So if you're behind, meaning you have a lot of prizes and they have very few, you'll get to draw more cards than them, and you know, if they have 8 cards in their hand and they go down to 2, that's pretty huge detriment for them. And is one of the most frustrating cards I've learned to play against. Sometimes you're just setting up for an awesome next turn and they end you and you draw 2 energy and you're just done. But we get to do that to them too. 1 Olympia, because again we're emphasizing the effect of switching your Volcanions out. They get stuck up there. They can't attack during the next turn. So if you retreat them to the bench, you bring up another one, or this one can attack as well. So the switches and the Olympias in the Olympia let you kind of return the Volcanion to the bench, and then hopefully you had a guy on your bench with a float stone. You can move that one out of the way and get this Volcanion back up, and boom, he can attack again. 4 Sycamores, again, we don't actually care about discarding energy in this deck because we have energy retrieval and Volcanion, little Volcanion rather. So discarding extra energies is not too bad. We just kind of want to find the Max Elixirs. The Max Elixirs are so important, being able to attack early. So 4 Sycamores. Again, we could probably change 4 Sycamores into something else, but one of the, get another N in there, maybe balance it out. 2 Skyfields, because you really want to have all 4 Volcanions. If you have all 4 Volcanions, you can knock out Megas in one hit. That's 90 plus 130, which is 220, which I think knockouts all the Megas that I know of. Doesn't kill Wailord, but he's not in the format, so it's okay. So pretty much you take out everybody that's not resistant or that doesn't have a Fighting Fury Belt. Speaking of Fighting Fury Belt, boom, there it is. It's for the little Volcanion, not for the big one. You really want float stones on the big Volcanions, but sometimes you just need that extra 10 damage and 12 energy. You need a lot of energy because you're discarding them and you want to hit them with Max Elixir, and you're discarding them all the time to Volcanion big, and you're getting them back with Volcanion little. So 12 energy, kind of a lot, but kind of necessary. That is the deck. It is pretty sweet. I've been having a lot of fun with it. We'll put the prices here up on the screen. Again, it is not the cheapest deck. I have all the prices up here. So we've got, this is TCG Player Low, some of the lowest prices you can find, for a total of about $240. Half of that is in the Shamans. There's $60 Shamans on TCG Player right now. You can go scoop them up if you want. But half that's in the Shamans. If you were to cut the Shamans, what you could replace them with is something like Remoraid Artillery, kind of a less good Shaman, more vulnerable to things like Garbodor. But you could do it if you didn't want to spend the $120. You would also be able to cut the Hoopa, which is about $9, saving you about $129, bringing you down to, Artillery is about $4. So you could save some money there. What else could you cut? Not really much else. Nothing else that's expensive. You can't cut the Volcanions. That's the whole part of the deck. You really can't cut the Max Elixirs. Versus Seekers are pretty important. The Fighting Fury Belts, we could trim those. They're not too important. That would save you $7 if you cut both of them. But yeah, that's pretty much the deck. There's going to be a gameplay video linked here around somewhere, and you can go check out some play action and see if you like how the deck plays. Let us know in the comments below what you think of the deck profile. Hopefully you liked it. What can we improve on? What do you want to see in the future? Like, comment, subscribe, share, do all those cool things, and thanks for watching.